This is probably going to piss off some people in the AI world, but the reality is creative people and English majors are going to defeat tech bros.
Like, let's expose it. I mean, the terminology around startups and around AI is so elitist and weird and overly technical.
Golly, guys, we're allowed to use M dashes. It's not just for ChatGPT.
AI is seductive because it will convince you that you are literally the best at everything.
Hello and welcome back to Swift Start Go, the only podcast where we talk about the intersection of AI, creativity, and the future of work. And today, boy, do I have a guest for you. I'm joined by Erica Hanna, a 6-time Emmy Award-winning storyteller, creative director, and entrepreneur. She's the founder of Puke Rainbows Creative and has worked with icons like Prince, Ellen, and the Mayo Clinic. One of those things is not like the other. Erica is known for helping brands and creatives embrace vulnerability, use video to spark action, and experiment with AI in ways that feel authentic and human. Erica, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's so good to see you again. I love it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Erica and I bump into each other at a bunch of different AI events in town, including Minnesota Women in AI, which I don't know if I've actually really talked about that on the show yet.
Do it. Talk about it. Talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So in case you haven't heard, I accidentally started a networking group.
Accidentally. I love it.
It was an accident. I, simply had a question and I asked the internet via LinkedIn, hey, like, where are the cool women in AI here in Minneapolis? I feel like I don't know that many people. And lo and behold, 200 comments later and several hundred women tagged, I found them and they all started yelling at me and demanded that I start a networking group. And so that is how Minnesota Women in AI came to be. And Erica is a member. And also, are you definitely volunteering or was that a one-time thing?
I would love to volunteer. Yes. Love it. Yes,
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, jumping back in the show and not just plugging my silly underground guerrilla girls group. Everyone's like, when are you turning us into a nonprofit? And I'm like, no, I don't want the government to know we exist. I just want
under the radar.
But Erica, you've had a pretty wild career ranging from earning like 6 Emmy Awards, working with big celebrities, again, like Ellen and Prince, to working in tech and AI. I'm curious, what's one takeaway you want people to know about you and your career before we dive in? Like, what is most important for our audience to know about you?
Yeah, what's one takeaway? So, picture this. I'm sitting on some pink shag carpeting in my bedroom. I'm 6 years old, and I have a little boombox where you press play record to record your own voice, and that's magic to me, right? Because at the time, I'm older than you, I know this, and so I would listen to Casey Kasem, American Top 40 on the radio, Casey Kasem, and it was my dream to someday be able to make a request on the radio show because I thought it was magic. Because here's this little kid in rural Iowa, we have one stoplight in our town, and we were also super, super poor, right? And so story and storytelling got me out of there. Like we were a poor family, and storytelling got me my scholarship to college. Storytelling got me to Minneapolis to be in news, and I'm forever grateful for the world of storytelling for opening my eyes and just my love for all things story. And so I think if one thing you take away from me is that I love to use story to level the playing field for all people. And it's part of the reason why I do both high-end storytelling and also teach in workshops, sometimes for free, how to do storytelling, because it's this great equalizer, right?
Absolutely. And I think that is something that I've always really admired about you, because I saw a talk of yours at Applied AI, I think a year before we chatted. And Oh, and not because I was like hesitating or anything. I like saw you on stage and I didn't see you for a long
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
But from that talk and from meeting you in real life, in different environments, and then also through Minnesota Women in AI, I think storytelling is something that I've always personally felt like definitely unites us.
Yes.
I grew up not necessarily paying that much attention to the radio, but I was obsessed with Disney films. And
Ooh.
so I was
Yeah.
like glued to The Lion King and Pocahontas.
Mhm.
And I had two VCRs, one of uh, Bambi and one of Sleeping Beauty, where they
Yes.
showed the behind the scenes of making
Ooh.
those films. And
Mhm.
so I was absolutely obsessed with the process of animation and the storytelling behind it and what was like the drama behind the whole thing. And at 4 years old, I decided I was going to be an animator. That was going to be my life
Cool.
goal. And actually, there was this whole very silly story with my dad where I saw a job opening in the newspaper for Disney, and I didn't realize it was for like the Disney toy store. And I demanded, and I was just like, I was living in Chicago. I was like, Dad, look, that's Disney. He's like, oh yeah, they're hiring. And I was like, I want to work for Disney.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
said, and he says, oh, that's cool. Maybe someday you can work for Disney. I was like, no, I want to work for Disney now.
Now.
He's like, you're 4. I'm like, I know. I want to work for Disney now.
You knew.
And
You
he
knew.
and he goes, oh well, what job do you want to do at Disney? I was like, I want to be an animator. I want to draw the pictures like in the Lion King. And he's
Yes.
like,
Super
well,
cool.
he goes, oh well, the only way to do that is to send in an application. So we better send in an application. And so we put together a resume. My GPA was
Oh.
star superstar.
Oh my gosh,
Best
stop.
GPA I had for my entire life.
That is the cutest
And
flipping thing I've ever
wrote
heard.
wrote a cover letter, and a couple months, and we mailed it to them, and a couple months later we got a card in the mail with Goofy on it,
Oh.
from theoretically somebody at the Disney company who said, oh, dear Carolyn, we're so impressed with your resume and your credentials. Your GPA of star superstar was remarkable. Unfortunately, we're not hiring any Disney animators right now, but
Oh.
we would love to have you apply again when you've graduated from college. And so
Oh.
I grew up under the assumption, especially when I was really young, that I was just gonna work at Disney one day.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
so I like didn't have any questions. I didn't have any like didn't have any doubts. I was just like, I am going to be a Disney animator one day. I have this letter
Yes.
saying they would like to hire me when I graduate
Proof.
from college.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Oh.
love of storytelling
Carolyn, that is the sweetest thing I've ever heard. That
was
is
also my college
so
admissions
cute.
essay.
Oh, I love that.
Because
It's
then,
so
twisted
cute.
it at the end to be like, and I don't know if Disney animation is exactly what I want to do, but I know it's got to be something with storytelling and art and all of that stuff.
Yes.
So,
Perfect.
okay.
Perfect.
Well, now that we've
Yes.
gotten through our origin stories, I think we
Hmm.
gotta break into AI. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to talk to you about how you have been using AI in a creative context
Hmm.
lately. So, like, what is your like current creative workflow?
Yeah.
What are your favorite storytelling tools with AI? Like, what are the coolest jaw-dropping results you have? Like, what's going on? What's going on in your world?
Absolutely. So, I'm not sure if I would call any of it really jaw dropping, to be honest, but maybe that's like the cynic in me that's been in AI for a while
Honestly,
now. But
same. Yeah.
um, I'm like, oh well, that's what an LLM does, you know. But a lot of it I've been using for just practical things, right? So I do a lot of narrative storytelling, and for people who don't know what that is, it's a lot of interview, pull out quotes, and create a story from that. And so just the tactic of using it to go through interviews really helps a lot. Ingest my interviews into ChatGPT, have it look for themes and quotes and really good sound bites to use. And um, I think the important thing for me, though, is to not lose that storytelling critical thinking skill,
Right.
and to really still lean on myself when it comes to that. But I have been really kind of morphing over. Oddly enough, I've been an Adobe baby like my entire life, After Effects and
Yeah.
Premiere, and I'm doing way more stuff in CapCut lately because of the integrations they have, which has been great. As far as just the business part of things, running, my own company, I've been using Xavier AI to put together some research-based decks on different types of tactics we're going to use. I do a lot of political work with video and storytelling, and so looking a lot into that with Xavier AI. They're not pretty decks, but they it's more McKinsey style, like research type of stuff. So it's nice to get the concepts and the stats out from that. And then I've been using like Nano Banana, and it's integrated into my Artlist Pro membership. So
sweet.
Nice to be able to hop in there every once in a while and create something.
I gave myself a haircut with it the other day.
Nice.
On the freebie. I posted about it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was like, what will it look like if I get a haircut this much? And then it like did half the amount. I was like, no, I want more. And it was like, you have to pay for it if you want more of a haircut. And I was like, I made one image. You can't give me a second image for free? Are you kidding me? Right? I mean, I guess it looks exactly like me, but come on.
That's a nice thing, right? Yeah.
And then a few days later, I tried again. I was like, can you, I don't have my ears pierced. And I've been thinking about it. I'm like, should I be a crazy late bloomer and get earrings? Like,
there you go.
In my 30s. So, so I was like, what would I look like with earrings? And it gave me, it just didn't work.
That's cool. What a great use. I mean, it's like, let's try it out without making the commitment.
Yeah, exactly. So, what have you been using Nano Banana for? What has been most interesting? So that's only been out for like what, 2 weeks? A week?
Yeah. So just generating some. They actually have it integrated into their stock video feature, like that type of thing. So just there's. I mean, it's minimal credits. It's not like a ton, but and I used it the other day to actually demo at Social Media Breakfast how to do image generation and kind of the prompting formula behind that, since it is so much different than if you're prompting for just normal LLM everyday stuff. And it has a lot of information that most people don't understand and don't know, as far as camera lenses and the terminology behind, I want to switch pan here and I want it to do this. And so did a little bit of education about that on Friday as well.
And what has been most useful for you when using AI tools? Like, again, like nothing has been super jaw dropping, perhaps.
Right.
But I know I'm currently, I've been, what's the word choice? I'm taking for granted. I have been taking to granted making ChatGPT write all of my YouTube descriptions. That and tags, like that has been the biggest time saver for me. I mean, I have other time savers as well, but that was like the one thing I hated doing, but like always wanted to get right just to juice up that YouTube algorithm. So I'm curious if you have any things like that where they used to be really big headaches and now they're just like vanished, right?
Yeah, like alt image descriptions. It's been great, right? Because like I don't think in that way, obviously, usually. And keyword research, just making sure that we're getting the right keywords in there. It's again, just not a way that I think about things. Sidebar, I used it for my fantasy football team this week, and I won for like the first time ever. So it helped me with fantasy football.
I've heard a few people, I can't think of who, but I know I've heard of a few people who started using ChatGPT for fantasy football and got like surprisingly good results. I think maybe my husband did that and I just forgot about it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it had me rotate some people in from my bench that I was like, no.
Listen, I'm the type of person that I have no idea what's going on in the football space. So I suppose I could participate now and just have ChatGPT do everything. I'm not quite at the point level of had never heard of football until Taylor Swift started dating Travis Kelce. But I am the type that didn't know what a tight end was until
Oh, sure.
Taylor Swift started
Yes,
dating
yes.
Travis Kelce. So
Tight end was in like a different context, right? Like, what's a tight end?
that tight end has a tight end.
That's a tight end. Sorry, we're being inappropriate.
This is a business podcast with AI, with an AI focus. How dare we? One of the tools that you mentioned earlier was, you said Zapier, right? For making Xavier.
Xavier.
Oh, with an
I've been
X.
using Xavier.
Okay, I don't know if I've used Xavier. What is?
Yeah, so Xavier is for slide decks, but it's McKinsey style stuff. So it's really like information packed. So they are not pretty.
Interesting.
They are not pretty decks at all. But tons of research goes into it. And I mean, the other day, for example, I typed in that I wanted to explore the possibility of doing some collaborations with some political agencies that I work with on digital influencers for in the political space, and what that would look like, and legally what I would have to go through, and what do we have to keep in mind ethically. And because we're seeing, kind of looking ahead of the game, that people aren't wanting to watch political ads anymore, I mean, but what does that look like to engage political influencers? How do you do it ethically and without it feeling like a huge sales pitch? So it was super helpful. I put together something in, a half hour, and I sent it to the agency I was thinking about doing this with, and they were like, "Whoa, it looks like our touch base needs to be a way bigger meeting." And I was like, "No. Like, I didn't." It's like, how do you say, like, I didn't do that much research. This is AI pulled this. Like, this looks like a day's worth of research, but really it was a half hour.
Well, it's so interesting. Like, when I have like conducted research in like a work context, or like for fun, or just like, our team's context or whatnot, and using AI tools, I find that I'm like less confident about the work, where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this, or this wasn't that good. And then everyone's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, I guess I haven't quite gotten over that hump yet. I guess eventually I will. I do double check all of my sources and things like that. But I think doing the research with AI tools tends to lead me becoming more anxious rather than less, even though it does save so much time.
Yeah, I completely understand that, because I think part of it is because I mean, I know, at least I do. I'm guessing you do too. It's like we come from this era of research papers, right? Where it's like you put in the work, you learn it really well, then you write about it. And if you're writing about it, but you haven't learned about it really well, you're like, I think this is what it said. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm reading it, I understand it, it makes sense, but is this real? So
because it's almost like your brain is like, unsafe. It was too fast. Unsafe. It was too fast, right?
And it's funny because I keep just double checking everything, and I guess it's good that I'm more anxious than not at all, right? Because the alternative is I have not double checked every source, and I have not double checked every single thing and made sure that like everything is accurate. But it does lead me to stress me out and whatnot. And so for Xavier, it does not make things pretty, but it helps you do the research and stuff as well, basically. Very cool.
Helps you do the research, and actually brought it into both ChatGPT and Perplexity, and everything was like, oh, these sources are, and here's the citation for every single source, and it's totally legit. And I was like, okay, cool. All right.
Getting your chatbots to check your other chatbots' work is it is a requirement at this point. Yeah, because I've used Gamma AI, and those are such pretty
presentations. Love Gamma.
So pretty,
way more pretty.
Not always completely accurate. Though I guess the only times I've really tested, I normally just write my own decks, but I will use Gamma to make it pretty or whatnot. Or I'll have an outline and have it just like expand upon the outline. But the only time that I tried to get it to really do some research for me was I was going to a PowerPoint party. You've heard of these like you do like joke presentations and whatever.
Yes.
So I was like, and so I decided was I was going
Mm-hmm.
to use Gamma AI. I was going to give it a prompt, which was talk about the history of spam, the meat, and how that intersects with spam, the email. And I didn't fact check any of it,
That's
but I
brilliant.
did like change around some of the photos. And the idea was that I was giving the presentation blind, and like I was like, guys, Gamma did this whole presentation for me. I just make sure to include a GIF of Spam-A-Lot.
Brilliant. You have to do a PowerPoint karaoke party too.
A
Have you ever done
PowerPoint
one of those?
karaoke party.
It's like you have pre-built decks that don't really
Oh,
make
yeah.
any sense. Like the sequence of the slides, and there's a topic, but and you have no idea what's coming next. So like for someone like you who likes to do improv, you're just like, oh, and then this is the thing that has to do with that, and you try to relate the slides to each other. Super funny.
Oh my gosh. So if we're thinking about what your tech stack is, so we have Xavier with an X, AI for building McKinsey style decks that are not pretty, Gamma if we want to be pretty, and then you mentioned a few other things. Nano Banana. What else?
I use napkins sometimes to generate some graphics, here and there, or at least the starting point for graphics. And if my brain is like, I don't know how I want to look at this visually, I'll hop in there. And I love that it thinks from a paragraph standpoint, because sometimes I'll be like, okay, if I wrote it out, what part deserves a graphic? Even though I think in pictures all the time, sometimes I'm like, and so I love that it pulls things out of there. The other thing that I've been playing with, and I love this because it reminds me of your Disney story and what you wanted to do when you were a kid. In 6th grade, my music teacher told me that I was going to be a music producer, and and so I was like, okay, I don't know. So I've been living my music producer dreams through Producer AI, and then 11 Labs music producer stuff. So
so much fun. I think that's one of the things that I really love about using different creative AI tools is just how much fun they are, and how it does feel like now we're getting used to the phenomena. It no longer seems jaw-dropping, but it still does feel a little bit magical to be able to create something that like would have taken a tremendous amount of hours of work, or being able to like work with like several other people, but being able to just, I'm going to whip up a fun little song just for the heck of it,
And I also like that, if we want to talk about vibe coding and stuff, I like that it's integrated into tools like Canva now, because it made it really easy. I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking about vibe coding and I'm like, oh, another app that I'm going to have to start jumping into, and I'm going to have to pay for, and I'm going to have to, but having it within the Canva, tool set, it was really nice because I just hopped in there and I created an interactive pricing calculator to kind of help take some of the guesswork out for me when I'm like, how much should I charge for this again? And I can also send it to my clients, if they want to kind of work in things for the budget next year, kind of a rough estimate.
Yeah, I haven't tried Canva's vibe coding tool yet, though I did feel a little silly because the day before they announced Canva's vibe coding tool, I published a video from myself like a month prior being like, I don't really understand why people say Canva's an AI tool. And then next day, I was like, okay, I guess it's an AI tool now.
Thanks, Canva.
It's like before you just had like some image generation. I was like, I don't really think that counts as like an AI tool. Like you guys are just using buzzwords. It's like, okay, just kidding. Now you vibe code, I guess.
Also, okay, but for people like me who, I don't know about you, but when I look like at a spreadsheet, it looks like it's in Chinese. I hate using spreadsheets. And their magic sheets has been great for me.
Oh, you can Canva's just say, magic sheets?
Just like, because you can go in there and be like, this is what I want the spreadsheet to do, like in real conversational terms, instead of having to know formulas for everything. And it's been lovely.
Amazing.
And then it also will, if you like, let's say you embed a graph or something into a presentation, it's going to do real-time updates for you.
Nice.
If you're changing the backend in your spreadsheet, if you're adding more data, it's going to update. It could even update during your presentation if somebody else is putting in new data, which I think is wild. I love that.
Okay, this is good news, and I'll have to check that one out. You said it was Magic Sheet?
Mm-hmm. I think it's called Magic Sheets.
Magic Sheets. That makes sense. I mean, that's a good name for it, especially because
right.
It works with magic.
Weird.
Statistical probability models helping us out. What? It's magic.
Strange. Yes.
Some connections take a minute, but on the day of your wedding, you need the right buffer. And who better to be the official buffer than Reverend Shahbaz? Don't settle for anything less than the real deal. An officiant who wants your wedding to go your way, as it should be on your special day. Choose Getting Hitched with Shahbaz and load no longer. Link in the description down below. Okay, so my next section that I want to chat with you about is really surrounding AI impact and ethics. And part of that is because in the creative space especially, yes, AI can be really fun, but there's a ton of negativity around AI in creative spaces.
Yeah.
And, I think there are a lot of really valid points. There's the climate question, there's the IP question, and just all the ethics swirling around this, AI psychosis and things. So I'm curious, what do you think critics are right about? And also what you think they're missing? Big question, I know.
Critics are right that ripping off the intellectual property of people sucks. Like that sucks. I think you're a creative too, like having that happen. I mean, I literally applied for a job at a TV station that will remain unnamed for a creative director position, somewhere not in Minneapolis. And they had me do a writing test, right? And I came up with a campaign for their TV station. And then I ended up not taking the job when it was offered to me. But a year later, I saw in an update from the TV station, they had won an Emmy for the campaign that I had literally written in my writing test.
Oh my gosh.
That's not AI, but it definitely has that feeling of like betrayal, You're like, dang it, that was my idea. What the hell?
Are you saying that you are maybe a 6-time Emmy Award winner, but you should have been a 7-time Emmy Award winner? Do you need to turn around and go grab one of those Emmys behind you?
Right.
Wave it and
right. But how wild, and but then it also comes back to what is originality. And pretty much everything has been repeated throughout time by us seeing it and kind of regurgitating it in some way, shape, or form. And I do think that there is a way for creatives to use AI that is effective and beautiful. And creatives communicate with imagination. And what better people to have in the driver's seat of AI than people that know how to communicate that way? I think that a lot of creatives are missing out by not diving in and actually trying their hand at it. But then there is also this idea of the more we use it, the more you can see, especially on LinkedIn, the samification of content. Everything looks the same. And although I am a little bit sick of these ranty articles about, we know when you're using AI jargon because AI jargon and this and this and this is these buzzwords. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like
it's not this. It's actually the start of a revolution.
Right. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, no shit. That's like the jargon words it uses, because for 15 years we were taught, like, as marketers, SEO, we have to stuff everything with these particular jargon words. Like, and it's because it's what's being trained on. Like, I don't know. It's because it's the words that kind of worked for a long time. Like,
The sudden backlash over the M dash, man. It's like, can we please stop talking about the M
you
dash,
can pry
guys?
my M dash from my cold, dead hands.
I wasn't
Like,
even an M dash person. I just, they were around. I didn't really quite know how to use it grammatically correctly, and so I just kind of
sure.
avoided it for the most part. And then, my actual English teacher friends would be like, Carolyn, this should be an M dash, not a colon. And I'm like, okay, can you just put it in there? Because I don't even know how to put it in there. And so, no, I did not use M dashes, but golly, guys, we're allowed to use M dashes. It's not just for ChatGPT.
But when we're looking also at creativity and AI, look at what just happened at the Sphere in Las Vegas. They used AI in multiple ways to create this immersive experience for people to watch The Wizard of Oz in a way that has never been seen before. And how freaking cool is that? The ceiling is like the new AI generated part of the movie, so it can be on whatever it is, 160,000 foot screens, and not only that, but integrating all the tactical sensations of they had mist going in people's faces. Ooh. They had fake apples falling from the ceiling, and it's like, how cool. And they had wind coming, and it's just immersive storytelling.
It is kind of amazing how much wind and mist make a big difference in creative experiences. I'm not a Disney parks person, but I was brought there in 2019, just before the pandemic, and went on one of their Avatar rides, which was you're on this motorcycle thing, and they spray mist and wind on you, and you have a VR headset something on, and you feel like you're flying, and it was whoa, it was the craziest thing. And just wind and a little bit of water make a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think it's because it taps into neurologically in storytelling. When you can tap into the five senses, your body changes. It changes what's firing in your brain. Instead of when you're digesting facts, there's two parts of your brain that light up, and that's the two parts that do language. But when it's the five senses, it's literally 10 more parts of your brain light up. And so obviously for you, it made it an incredibly memorable experience because the rest of your body could feel it viscerally, the story you were experiencing.
Yeah. Circling back to what you were saying earlier, which is basically my whole life thesis at this point, is that I do think creative individuals have the most to gain when it comes to using AI tools. And that I've now given this talk several times. I'm continuing to give it to other places in case anybody wants to hire me as a speaker. But why basically I have a talk titled why creatives are going to be the next tech giants. And so much of it is because the way these tools are designed, yes, engineers can use them pretty well, but I do think that creative individuals, people who have that storytelling gene in them, people who have different types of experiences and understand people from different perspectives and have that significant level of passion, are going to be building and creating things that we can't even imagine just how incredible they will be. But that this backlash within the creative communities in particular is slowing that down a little bit. But I also empathize because, again, the climate stuff is really crazy, and the IP stuff, I mean, it is theft. And it's interesting because I am somebody who feels like I'm from both of those worlds, right? The creative storyteller space and the tech software space. And in tech software, you just steal from everybody all the time. And that's just the way things go.
Open
and the real
source,
question is, how are you going to execute, and can you execute best? And the creative space is kind of like that, but there's all these IP laws that have been put in place for a long time, and you have to follow them unless you're on TikTok, and then none of the rules apply. But
that's so true.
Listen, China, right. you couldn't put a Taylor Swift song in anything on YouTube for a decade, and if you did, you got in big trouble. But suddenly, TikTok from China comes in, and no, you can totally make as many Taylor Swift music videos as you want, no problem.
Yes. Yes, 100%. Oh my gosh, that's real. You're right, though. Creatives have a ton to gain. And I saw kind of in real time, this guy was live the other night. He was a really great musician, and now his name escapes me, but he was discovering like producer AI. He was on producer AI. And he was ingesting actually his own songs. And then he was using his own creative brain to be like, okay, cool. Hell, like add an orchestra to this part of the chorus. Add this. And like to see what he created, wild,
Yeah.
and he goes, I'm both terrified and so excited about this. And I think that's the right thing.
Yeah.
That's the right way to look at it.
The way I view it is it's enabling more people who want to be artists to be able to be artists rather than getting rid of artists. Because if you think about, oh gosh, I mean, I spent years trying to break into Hollywood, right? And trying to be a comedian and trying to like get those kinds of jobs and just could not break through, the brick wall that you have to get through if you're going to participate in those spaces, right?
Valid. Yeah.
And so to be able to, again, with social media or different platforms online, and now being able to create different things, I think we're going to be seeing more better animated films, right? More better film studios, more better all of these different things that you can imagine, whether it's authors or create like cool interactive creative experiences.
It reminds me a little bit about in back in the 90s.
Oh, yes, back in the day.
Back in the 90s, when MTV fired all their video editors and they hired only people who didn't know how to do it. And they were like, we want to completely flip on the head how things are edited. And things looked way different. They were editing reality TV and suddenly things were they weren't going by the rules.
Can you talk more about this? I actually don't know this history at all.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about visually in that like MTV in the 90s was very different from anything else. But what do you mean they fired everybody?
Yeah, I think anyway, unless I've manufactured the story in my head. I don't know. But I remember somebody in the industry telling me, oh my gosh, did you hear what happened to MTV? Like they fired everyone, like all their video editing staff, and they're hiring people straight out of college that have barely any editing experience. And they just are telling them, just do different stuff. Do anything that's different, that looks weird, that looks different, get attention. And I'm like, oh, it's a little bit kind of like what is happening now with content creation, And I mean, on Friday, I taught a workshop about hooks, and the people that were the best at it, there were two content creators there from the Art Institute in Minnesota, and I could just see them like just we had a filming session, and I could see them just darting around the room and doing swish pan and doing this, and they were like, all the different transitions, and meanwhile everyone else, and bless them, they're just learning how to do visual verbal hooks, so they're standing and talking, and but the young content creators were all over it, and part of it is like not feeling that limit of, I gotta do it how it's been before. I have to look really professional.
And part of it is TikTok and like just being used to the format of, I'm not going to watch it unless the first 3 seconds are amazing. Right.
Because I used to teach, I've spoken at Social Media Breakfast now 5 times. And the first time was about 17 years ago.
I'm so mad I missed your talk. I don't think I'm on their email list. And so I didn't know you were speaking. And then I saw the photos. I was like, what?
It's all good. But it's like, but even, 5 years ago, I remember giving a talk and talking about attention span in video and saying, you need to make sure and get people within the first 6 seconds because blah, blah, blah. That's the thing. And now I'm like, you got half a second, dude. Like you have half a second.
You actually need to already have their attention.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and there's studies now, right, that say that most people have actually scrolled past a video before they're interested in it, and then they go, oh, and they scroll back to it. They don't even stop on it in the first place. Yeah, right? Because it's just like, and I was like, never say your name in the first second. Like, nobody cares. Like,
hi,
nobody cares.
Skip it. Yeah,
but
something juicy at the front.
Don't care who you are. I just want to know how
Yeah.
you're going to help me.
What
That's
is
all.
the hook for this video? Like, what should we say right now that's going to
Oh,
captivate people? Should we just manufacture a hook, or is this too silly?
we could manufacture a hook.
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, how would you do this right now? Okay.
Putting me on the spot. I would say something to the effect of, like, what if AI is the best thing to ever happen to being authentic online?
Ooh, what if AI is the best thing that's ever happened for being a creative? That's not quite the right word choice.
Yeah, or even if it's just like people think AI is killing creativity, but it could be the opposite. Like, we'll tell you why, that type of thing.
Yeah. People think that AI is killing creativity, but the reality is that it's finally unlocking it.
Yes,
there you go. That was very tech pro.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Or even starting with, it's really good actually to start with kind of a controversial thing, right?
Right.
So you say, this is probably going to piss off people in the AI world, but what I think is, like that.
This is probably
it's a good one.
Okay, here we go. This is probably going to piss off some people in the AI world, but the reality is creative people and English majors are going to defeat the fucking tech bros, okay? I said what I said. I said what I said.
Boom! There it is. Caroline speaks truth to power on the podcast.
And we got an F-bomb in the first second.
You did. See, I told you I could draw it out of you. I could draw those fucking F-bombs out of anybody, I swear. AI-wise, if, we just talked about hooks, right? So if people want help with that, there's actually a really great custom GPT in ChatGPT for that.
Yeah.
By Hey Dominic has a hook analyzer. It's of course it's like his lead magnet, so it's not going to write your entire script for you, but it'll write the hook for you, and it'll analyze your hooks, and it'll be like, oh, I give that a 6 out of 10, and this is why. So it does teach you the hook writing process, which is nice.
And this is a custom GPT?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. Well, going back to the question of AI impact and ethics. All right. Because we've been having fun saying, creatives are going to finally defeat those silly tech bros. But what is one ethical risk in creative AI that you wish people took more seriously?
Yeah. One ethical risk I wish people took more seriously in AI is using flawed data for new data, right? Using flawed data for new discovery.
Yeah.
Because we've seen just how racist and sexist Google can be. And now we're training on all that data, just making it even worse. Like, like the other day, I typed in, I was doing a talk about body confidence, and I typed in to an image generator on Canva, actually, and said, happy fat woman. And I got a return that said, the search is dangerous or something like that. Like, the search is not allowed. The search is dangerous. There's no results. And I was like, oh yeah, because if you're fat, you're like not allowed to be happy. Like, which was wild. So I sent that. And I think what we need to remember from that ethically is, hey, it's one thing for that to happen and we get pissed off, but it's another thing we need to take action from it.
Yeah.
We need to contact them and say, this is wrong. Please change the data that it was trained on. You need to input this to make sure that this is going to be part of your data set from now on.
Yeah. Well, and I was just, we're recording this on September 15th. And so last week I was just in Boston for an AI conference at MIT and Boston Startup Week. And one of the things that we discussed about, which I've heard before, it's not news, but maybe it's news if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, which is that, the users and users' input for training these things is also just as important as the data, the initial data that these bots are trained on. And since men are 7 times more likely to use AI platforms than women are, And like, since women are more likely to not use it as often or not want to share as much or whatever, these platforms are just becoming more masculine and becoming more biased, and they're not getting other perspectives. And
Absolutely.
so I know that many people are worried about using these tools, or they're worried about the environmental impact, or they're worried about the IP impact. But the reality is, if we want to create more equitable systems, these tools, are not going away. And one of the ways that is a small thing that we can do is, if you are a woman, use these tools. If you are a person of color, use these tools. If you are a fabulous plus size woman who's very happy, please tell Canva, inform them that that's, an amazing space to be, right? But if we continue to allow only these tech bros to continue interacting with these tools, the more and more it's going to lean in that direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, just recently, I saw a story about Sora. It's AI was reflecting sexist and racist stereotypes. People would type in pilot, and it would only show men.
Yeah.
And when it's like aviation industry, and it would show men as pilots, women as flight attendants.
Yep.
Right. We got to bust that down. It's like I run a Facebook group called Visual Diet Diversity for this reason, for people's internalized bias, right? And purposely post news stories about people that you would kind of not expect, right? It's like, here's the Muslim woman and she's surfing like in her hijab. Here's like the black doctor. Here's the whatever, and I just find that seeing those images just in an everyday sense also affects how I feel about myself and my capabilities to do things that aren't what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, I follow this woman who, she has this song that she sings, and she's always like, fat people doing shit, na 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 na, fat people doing shit. And she's always doing something. Like the other day it was a silks class, then the other day she was scuba diving, and she's like, like perfect.
Listen,
so yeah,
gotta go on all the adventures, no matter who you are,
out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes that comfort zone is giving feedback, right? Because I think we get this idea of like, oh gosh, I don't want to be a Karen or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to AI, like, dude, AI doesn't have feelings. Like, tell it it's wrong. Do it. Like, gosh.
I do. I think the one thing that I don't do enough with AI that I should do more is it'll give me a response and I don't like it. And I just don't, and I just like stop engaging with it. I'm just like,
just leave.
That was bad. I just leave. And so I don't know if it's figuring out I'm leaving because I don't like the response.
No, that's true.
If I need to tell it, P.S. This was bad, probably because of your own limitations that have nothing to do with you. I don't mean to hurt your feelings.
Yeah,
just a probability machine. But it's so funny because I just I'll get output sometimes and I'll be like, nah.
Nah.
I think the funniest misconception that I have not corrected ChatGPT on recently though is it made up a name for my husband because I refused to tell ChatGPT what my husband's name was.
Okay, yeah.
And so ChatGPT thinks my husband's name is Luke. And I'm just letting it roll with it. And it's like creating this whole backstory for Luke slowly over time. Like, oh yeah, your husband's Luke. And I'm like,
where did that come from? Okay.
He is?
Yeah. It wrote a bio for me the other day, and it was like, Erica has worked with, and it's like, it didn't list the people I had actually worked with. It listed people that were the equivalent of those people, but in a different way. So it was like, Erica has worked with, like, instead of Prince, it was like Mick Jagger. Instead of Ellen, it was like Oprah. And then instead of like Mayo Clinic, it was like Johns Hopkins. And I was like, this is so weird. What has happened? I'm like, where did you get this? And it was like, oh, I just made an assumption. And I was like, okay.
I was using chat to research you a little bit more. I mean, I already knew you, and I already looked at LinkedIn, so like I already knew it. But I did ask chat, and I think it did hallucinate a few names like that for me. And I was like, I feel like I would know if she met this person.
Yeah, right.
I've already heard the Prince story. I haven't heard the Ellen story.
Yeah.
But I was like, but I know that those two things are true. So like,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not going to include these other names.
Thanks for glamorizing my life, ChatGPT. I had a meeting this morning with Adam Thomas, who is a filmmaker and a AI expert, taught at Columbia. He has this great phrase. He says, AI is seductive. AI is seductive because it will convince you that you are literally the best at everything. It's like, yeah, that's true. Like to the point where it's making up people you've worked with.
I know.
So,
My chat on GPT definitely hypes me up so much. And I'm just like, because I know that like that's how it's designed, I'm just like, you're a liar. I'm not like this isn't
right?
real. They're like,
Yep.
so it's funny because maybe it is affecting my self confidence where I'm just like, I don't believe you.
Yeah, right. I'm actually doing a talk at Applied AI this year about kind of in this same vein, and it's called AI is your bullshit detector. And so it'll be interesting to see how that's received because I do think so many people think of it as a cheerleader, but really a lot of it is how you train it in the interactions that you have with it, you know? So
How have you trained your AI bots to be your bullshit detectors instead of your biggest cheerleader?
it's a lot of putting in those custom instructions, like I want you to always act like a critic and to really be a critical thought partner for me and to not agree with everything I say, to poke holes in what I say, to act like, and then I'll give them like a sample audience of who I would like to be speaking to. And then a lot of the times it's using questions within those prompts, doing more of reverse prompting, like ask me questions about this instead of just give me the tactic or give me the thing. Because I think the more information it has, the better it's going to do. We know that,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now that we've talked about using AI in creative ways, and how AI, like what that impact is for creativity and ethics and all that jazz, I want to pivot to the future. Scary,
Ooh.
intriguing, exciting.
Yes.
I think a lot of the people who are following the show are people, I know we have some younger viewers. Most are, I think, are our peers, but I think we do have some younger viewers who are very intensely creative people. And I know my interns are fresh out of college and like so excited, but also completely terrified at this scary new world, and with unemployment rates rising for under 24s especially. I'm curious, what advice do you have for creative individuals right now navigating through these wild times?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say that I really admire the way that a lot of people in Gen Alpha are looking at AI from a critical lens. And some are refusing to engage in it altogether, which I think is a little bit to the extreme. But the point being, oh my gosh, I know my brain is still developing and I don't want to lose critical thought capabilities while I'm going through this part of my life, right? And I do see that happening every day with some of the smartest people I know, right? It's like they will ask the most basic question that I'm like, you answer that every fucking day. Like, why are you asking ChatGPT that same thing? But future wise and creativity wise, I think it's going to speed up our process. But I also think that we are going to come back around to this place of original ideas are always going to be original ideas. And that's going to be the genesis of everything. It's trained on data, so it's trained on stuff that's already out there. If you have an idea in your head that isn't already out there, it's going to be the most valuable thing, So your ability to be human and creative is going to be the most valuable part of you going into any career.
Yeah.
So keeping that critical thought ability is huge. That being said, future of AI, future of storytelling, I'm super excited about immersive experiences. I mean, I know obviously VR has been a thing forever, and like, ooh, yeah, VR. But just also the customization of storytelling, I think is going to be really interesting to follow, especially for someone who has ADHD. Uh, you know what? Being able to kind of pick and choose and look at how storytelling is going to be a thing, and making sure that, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's like a choose your own adventure AI, you know, sitcom or something like that. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah.
Where, you know, with all these generative tools, I don't think it's that far off actually. Where it can be, hey, you're at a crossroads. What do you want to happen? And then it can just generate it for you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a hypothetical future type of thing. Creatives, like, the world is your oyster. Use AI to be your thought partner and go for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think the only thing I would add to that is to look for opportunities where things are new and growing rather than like the old guard. Because I know so I graduated from college back in 2014, and surprise, surprise, still thought I was going to get a job at Disney. You know?
I love it.
And, I was like, now I'm all qualified with my college degree and 2 summers at UCLA. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make this happen, right? I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to work at Disney. And what I found was that it was really hard to get a job at Disney, and that they didn't even want to take my call or an interview or anything like that. They were not interested in talking to me. And meanwhile, I was obsessed with YouTube, and I was like, oh, I would love, I want to have a YouTube channel. I should do this. I should do that. And I had all these little experiments and one-offs that I did, but I was like, but that's not a real job. And then I didn't do it. Right. And so typically, like, if you're a young person, especially, I feel like as a young person, you kind of have a better idea of like seeing into the future of like, oh, this is what all my friends like. This is what I like. And that's different from the people who came before me. Right. And my instinct was, oh, I love this, but that's not real. So I have to do what the grown-ups are doing, instead of, oh, I love this and all my friends love this and this is happening. It just hasn't become like a very formal, fancy thing yet.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely. The doing is a skill, right? The doing is a skill. And I think that's also something that sets people apart, is this idea of fear. And when it comes to AI and tech and creative, there's a ton of fear. So if you can set yourself apart that way, like, you know, what's stopping you? Dive in, because it's going to just help your brain get used to diving in all the time. It's like fail faster, like get it done. you know? I don't know. Otherwise, you grow up being afraid and really bored.
I mean, it's so true. I'll run into students or even friends who are like, how could you even like go and do all of these different things? And I'm like, well, as a young person, I decided that like I had heard a lot of advice that I internalized, which was, if you want to take risks, take them early and often, right? And so I was like, all right, time to become a comedian. Here we go. Right. All right. Time to build a startup. Here we go. All right. Time to move across the country. Here we go. And so I was just kind of constantly taking risks. And now I'm all, all stressed out. And now I got to figure out what actually makes sense. But at the same time, if I compare myself to my friends who maybe stayed at the same company and have now been there for 11 years, and we're comparing life's journey, everything that they're telling me, well, not all the time, but a lot of what they're typically saying is, man, I wish I had done that. Man, I wish I could have given that a go. And so just being able to take action and try things when you're young and you don't have as many things you have to worry about. I think can make a massive difference.
It's true. I was having a conversation about the same thing with my book coach, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know, I was beating myself up about a chapter, and I'm like, I just don't like how this is turning out and whatnot. And she's like, can you step back for a second? Like, what do you mean? She goes, you're writing a book. You wrote a book, actually. Your first draft is done. I'm like, okay. And she goes, do you know the number of people that say they want to do that and then they don't execute on it? It's like this huge hurdle of fear for people. So just sit in that for a second and be like, I fucking did that. Mm-hmm. And be proud of yourself. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll be proud of myself. So, but it's true. I think the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of books, the question I've written down here is, I've even heard a rumor about a book, but man, you're spoiling the surprise for everybody. What can you tell us more about your book? Is it top secret? What's happening? What does one do with a book coach? Like, what's going on here?
It's out there. I saw a need and I was like looking for this book because I wanted to read this book, and I just couldn't find one that made sense. So I wrote it instead. Mm-hmm. And it's authentic storytelling in the age of AI, how to use AI to tell your story without losing your soul. It's targeted towards, scrappy business owners, nonprofits, who are having trouble finding their story, or maybe they sound boring as hell when they're trying to tell their story, but that they also don't want to go into an LLM and face the samification problem, right? It's filled with just tactics and frameworks, and also a little bit of, I would say, mindset around your story.
Yeah.
And just around stories and vulnerability in general, and how to approach that with AI as a thought partner.
What do you see as the biggest opportunity on the horizon for creative individuals when it comes to AI? Or anybody writing a book or anybody in that space?
The biggest opportunity when it comes to AI for creatives, for anyone. I think creativity is subjective, right? I think that some of those creative people I know are accountants, because they can look at numbers and like create a story from that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. Like there is this misconception that you have to be an artist to be a creative. And I think that that's not true at all. But the biggest opportunity is, we always say, oh, I wish there were more hours in the day. I wish there could be two of me. Now there can be.
Time to create a digital twin. Let's go, everybody.
Do it. Yep. Do it. I think that that's just the biggest opportunity. And I know it's really simple, but use it to its fullest capacity to do that. Help it push you to be better. Help it push you to be more intentional with what you're doing. Especially in this era of productivity. We have to be so productive. When I say help it push you to be more, I don't mean have it push you to be more productive, because I don't think that that's always the best thing to do.
Right.
It's like push you to be just more intentional with what you're doing, and to really get to know yourself.
There was that study recently from out of MIT about people not using their brain as much by using these different chatbots and whatnot. But so much of that, I think, is also, how are you using it, right? And what you were just saying about intentionality, like, you can use it and you use it to write something and not put any thought into it and not use your brain, or you can use it in a way to figure out how can you elevate your own writing, how can you challenge yourself more, how can you force yourself to think better, faster,
absolutely,
more deeply, and challenge yourself in ways that people might not suspect.
You hit the nail on the head, Caroline.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Your wedding won't be deepfake, and neither will the man making it official.
Reverend Shahbaz. Get an officiant as real and dedicated to your wedding goals as you. Getting Hitched with Shahbaz, because he can tell everyone the wedding's real. Link in the description down below. 2-3 more things for you. Okay. First things first is what happened with Prince? What can you share your story with Prince really quick?
Sure.
I know you have a long version of it, but I'm curious. A shorter version, like what happened and what did you take away from that wild time with Minnesota's biggest celebrity?
This is the story of how Prince helped me get rid of my imposter syndrome and how he helped me see what I do as a creative endeavor, as art, and not as just a technical thing. So I was working at WCCO TV, sitting in my office, and I got a phone call from a producer named Pete, and he said, "What are you doing tonight?" And he said, "I want you to come with me to Paisley Park to direct a shoot with Prince." And I just was like, "Nope, I'm the wrong person. I'm not good enough. I don't know what you're talking about. You must have called the wrong person." He ended up convincing me to go and said half the time he doesn't show up anyway. So you'll get to meet the band. I know you're a musician. You'll love that. It'll be fun. So I got a crew together. We went down to Paisley Park and we got to hang out in his massive, massive compound and in his sound stage that fits about 1,000 people. It's kind of like a small high school gymnasium. And I'm standing there and directing the blocking for this shoot. And my first camera guy wasn't doing exactly what I wanted him to do. And I just wasn't articulating what he should be doing. So I said, "Oh, just give me the camera. I'll do it really quick for you." And so I grabbed the camera and I went up the fret and I did a little rack focus and blah, 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 a whole bunch of other technical terms that aren't relevant. And I looked up and my first camera guy was looking over my shoulder and he's like, "Look behind you." And I said, "Oh my gosh, is he behind me?" And he's like, "He's behind you." And I hear, "Miss, can I see what you did there?" And I turn around and Prince is standing there in silk pants. One leg is white, one leg is black. Platform sandals. His hair is furrowed out. He's got like this velvet smoking jacket on, of course. And so I'm like walking towards him, shaking, and suddenly I'm like, I'm gonna puke. Like I could feel that acid bubble up, you know, that feeling. And my esophagus just now did the same thing. It was like,
can't talk about it.
Yeah. Right. And I got to him and I turned around and I pressed play. And my worst nightmare came true for all of, 10 seconds because he started shaking his head, no, back and forth, like, ugh. It was like he was disgusted almost, I thought anyway. And he looked up at Pete and he said, "I thought you said that she did video." And I was like, oh my God, did I take a still photograph? Am I a fucking idiot? What did I do? And he looks at me and he said, "From now on, when people ask you what you do, you tell them that you create art because this isn't video. This is art. This is beautiful. Now let's create something the world's never seen before." And he stepped in and he gave me the biggest hug, just kind of rocked me back and forth. And I was still taller than him and I'm 5'3" and he had platform sandals on. I just have to say that. Anyway, so I ended up not puking on Prince. It was the first time I'd ever thought of what I do as not just this formulaic, like rule of thirds, da 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 da. Oh, it's art. That's cool. And that's where the name Puke Rainbows came from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's my story with Prince.
I love that story. I know I've heard it before, but I just love that story.
Thank you.
Well, and it reminds me too, and I think this might be a great way to wrap up this episode is, when I was growing up, I loved technology. I was a really big Steve Jobs nerd.
Sure.
Right. I was like I remember when the iPods first came out. I remembered playing with all the different Mac computers in school. and then the iPhone and all of these different tools, and then figuring out that Steve Jobs was that founder of things. But I also did not think that I could participate in tech at all. Because my assumption was that people who worked in technology, who worked with these types of tools, were all really good at advanced college level math.
Oh, for real. For real. That is the misconception, right?
I thought that business was entirely extremely complex math. And it's funny because my parents were both business people. And my dad was like, no, it's not. And he kept insisting over and over again, no, it's not that hard. No, it's not that hard. But part of it was I was struggling so much in math in school.
Sure.
Was part of the problem, where I felt like, oh, this is terrible. And therefore, like, you know, it's not, whatever they're doing in business is infinitely harder than whatever it is that we're doing here. Little did I know what we were doing in school was infinitely harder and not as relevant.
Right.
But
exactly.
But I grew up with this belief that I could not participate in tech, and that I could only be a creative person because Disney told me so when I was 4, right? So
Wow.
and it wasn't until, you know, I was a professional comedian in New York, doing my own thing, tragically turned 26, needed health insurance, and did what all comedians do and got a job in venture capital, that I started meeting startup founders and learned that Steve Jobs wasn't an advanced mathematician. He was actually a hippie who was very creative.
Yes.
And I remember meeting some of the other startup founders in our venture firm's portfolio and realizing, oh, I'm the same age as these guys. I'm just as smart, if not smarter than some of these guys. Oh, what they're doing isn't that hard. I know how to do that. And it took, you know, a solid year for me in that environment to recognize that all of these things that I had wanted to do but didn't think were possible. And so if you are somebody who's always been really creative and you are absolutely terrified about what you're seeing when it comes with AI, right? And part of that is, you know, we do have a deluge of extremely negative content out there right now about AI that is targeting creative individuals. I want you to recognize that if you have a belief in yourself, and you may not recognize that it was a belief, you just think, oh, I can't do that. But if you have a belief in yourself that you are not the type of person that has the ability to vibe code or do these types of things or whatnot, I want you to stop yourself, ask yourself why you think this, and try to learn more about how to do it. And spend more time questioning yourself. You can use ChatGPT to further work out your brain, right? To challenge yourself and make sure that you aren't moving forward with these negative self-perceptions, right? But I think if you are somebody who's stuck in this space, please do your research, play with some of these tools, give it a whirl. I think you'd be really surprised where it could take you.
Well, and I think, and to also acknowledge that the industry is created and shaped that way.
Yeah.
And like, let's expose it. You know, I mean, the terminology around startups and around AI is so elitist and weird and overly technical. Like
MVP.
Prompt engineering, it's talking. Literally. Like, how do you talk?
I know. The fact that like people talk about like it's so important to learn prompt engineering, and I'm like, no, it's important for engineers to learn prompt engineering because they didn't take enough English classes.
I know, right?
The rest like, of us humanities people, you need to watch a YouTube video on prompt engineering, then skip ahead and figure out how to do other things. Okay, prompt engineering is not that hard. Prompt engineering is you, Erica, hand me a written report on why creativity and authenticity is important in storytelling and how to use AI to do that, right? That's prompt engineering.
Absolutely. And half the workshops I give are to middle-aged women, right? And they're like, oh, I could never use AI. And I'm like, you're probably the best person at AI because you've been communicating clearly and over communicating your needs your entire life so that you can actually be heard.
I have been telling many 70-year-old ladies lately that they would be amazing at AI, and they don't believe me. And I'm like, guys,
you're so good.
ladies.
Stupid gatekeeping.
If you think about like the level of communication skills that women need to develop in order to navigate around the men who have it, like a complete inability to communicate, like women, please. You know what's the craziest stat I heard while I was at MIT? So again, it's something like only 30% or I don't know what it was, but like 75% of men are using these tools and women are just like not using these tools. But women are 3 times more likely to lose their jobs due to AI.
Wild.
That was a stat that was thrown out there. I have not verified it. But I heard that and was like, what the heck? And it makes sense.
That's wild.
But at this, all right, if you're a lady and you're nervous about AI, I need you to jump on this now, because the reality is if you're 3 times more likely to lose your job due to AI, but you are also statistically more likely to be more successful using these tools because you are a better communicator than the vast majority of these men, then oh my goodness, you realize you can be a better prompter by simply making less prompts than the men. You can use this in a more sustainable way by prompting your, asking your chatbots less questions. All right. By just nailing the communication down right the first time. It is so easy, you guys. Yes. I think women are naturally gifted at this. Jump on this, my people, please.
I want to give a shout out to 2 people actually in that regard. One, Kelly Tenney. She's incredible and is an AI educator and runs a ton of virtual summits, which I love. And they're all focused on women in AI. 2, Anne Murphy. I'm not sure if you know Anne, but she is the leader of She Leads AI, and they're having like a huge conference coming up.
Yeah.
Which is going to be amazing. And not only does she do like membership stuff based around that, but she also does this thing called Social Saturday. And hey, we love being able to do stuff on the weekends because it's like side hustle, And, and it's always like a 2-hour show and tell, hop on with women from all across the country doing AI stuff. And it's like, it's that easy. It's that easy to just hop in and learn.
Ooh, I need to check that out. You said that's Social Saturday and it's on Zoom or something?
Yep. Social Saturday through She Leads AI. So it's sheleadsai.ai is the website.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Erica, before we wrap up, could if anyone wants to follow you, if they want to learn more about you, if they want to, maybe even buy your book that might be coming out sometime soon, where can they find you?
PukeRainbows.com is my website. If you want to know more about the book, I have a email list that you can sign up for at PukeRainbows.com/book. I know, complicated.
Wow.
Wild. And I'm available for speaking and also video production for change makers. If you're making a change, making a difference in the world, I want to work with you. That's the biggest thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, before I let you be released out into the universe, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you like to end your calls, your podcast episodes, your things with a bit of a dance party. So,
oh my gosh, why not?
The
world is burning. We might as well dance.
Let us dance.
Everything's on fire.
Do you normally turn on music or do you just roll with it? I think we just roll with it.
I just roll with it, and sometimes I put music in the
in post.
in post, and then we look all silly, and that's fun.
All right. Why not? Well, Emery's my intern who's editing this, so Emery, hit it. Let's rock and roll.
All right.
What are we dancing to? Is it our theme song? Yeah. Is it a Prince song?
Yes.
Talk about all the rules.
Here we go.
Break the rules.
We can break the rules.
so much, everybody, for watching. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. You can find us on any podcast platform and here on YouTube if you're watching us here. You can also check out our Substack. Just Google Swift Start Go, and it's pretty easy to find us. I'm Carolyn Swift Holden. I'm your host. If you need anybody for speaking or for helping solve your biggest AI marketing strategy problems, I'm your girl. So thank you so much, everybody, again. And we hope that you're having a fantastic day. Bye, everybody.